Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be getting her to friend zone your competition. Well, I got a good email from a viewer. This guy did a phone session with in the past month, and he had a situation with his girlfriend of 6 months who was being cold and distant, and plus there was an ex-boyfriend in the picture basically trying to come back in to the picture. And so he's applied the things that we talked about in the Skype session that I did with him, and he's had some really great results. And so he gives a progress report on what has happened since then and how the changes he's implemented have basically caused this other guy to blow himself out of the water and take himself out of the picture, her to friend zone him permanently, and to focus exclusively on my client and actually spend more time and pretty much do 100% of the chasing. That means all the calling, texting, and pursuing. So it's a great email to go through to help, especially you guys that are watching this that tend to be jealous, the jealous type, or you tend to get worried about other dudes, or if you're dating a woman who's got lots, she's very beautiful and she has lots of choices. This will totally set you apart. And by acting this particular way, you'll act like a guy, an alpha male, who has lots of choices and lots of options with women. And that's the guy that women really want. So I've got a quote I want to share with you, and then we're going to jump right into his email. And the quote says, "Women are most attracted to men who exhibit the alpha male qualities of leadership, charm, humor, honor, playfulness, masculinity, ambition, certainty, and a general non-compromising, relentless approach to achieving their mission, purpose, and dreams. Men who are cocky and charming go for what they want without fear or compromise. Why? Because they know what they want, why they want it, they expect to get it, and are therefore unwilling to settle for anything that is mediocre, second best, or undesirable in their lives. To alpha males, settling is for pussies and people who are too weak to follow their own dreams and goals." So let's go ahead and jump into his email. He says, "Hey Corey, we had a phone session earlier this month where I had a situation with my girlfriend of 6 months who was acting a little cold and distant when we were apart. Her ex was sniffing around and pursuing her and trying to get her to hang with him more and more. I had manned up the week before and told her my boundaries and expectations, suggesting hanging out with the ex in certain situations was too much like a courtship and not a friendship, and that I wouldn't be cool with that if that's what was going on. I laid down my ground rules about what I expect from a girl who wants to be with me and what I won't hang around for." So in other words, you've probably heard me say this numerous times. The strongest negotiating position is being able to walk away and mean it. He's basically saying, hey, I care about you and I adore you, but what you're doing with this ex-boyfriend, I'm not cool with that. Because the only reason he's contacting you is not because he wants to be your friend. It's because he wants to get in your pants skin, because he wants to get you back. And that's just, I'm not interested in that. And if that's how you're going to conduct yourself, I'm out of here. I had a girlfriend many years ago who was hanging out with a couple of friends of hers that were just fucking losers. She was doing a lot of coke, and coke tends to make you horny. And I just wasn't cool with it. And I just said, I'm not interested in that shit. I'll smoke a little weed, I'll drink a little booze, but I won't fucking touch that fucking white snow stuff. And I'm not interested in being involved with somebody who does that kind of shit. So if that's who you are and that's what you're all about, that's great. But if that's how you're going to conduct yourself and what you're going to be doing when we're not together, I'm not interested. I'll find somebody else. That just doesn't work for me. And she quit that. She quit hanging out with those people. And afterwards, it's like, it was like a day or two later, I remember her calling me. She says, I had an epiphany. And she stopped hanging out with all those people. And it really made things gel for us in our relationship because she respected me. And besides, she knew what she was doing. She shouldn't have been hanging out with those kinds of people anyways. We were still kind of new dating, so it wasn't like we were in a committed relationship. But I let her know in no uncertain terms if that's how she was and what she was all about, that I was out of there. I wasn't going to put up with that shit. And, I like what you did here and putting down your ground rules and saying, hey, this is what I'm all about, and this is what I'm willing to accept, and this is what I'm not willing to accept. He didn't chase, he didn't pursue, he didn't blow her phone up. He just said, hey, matter of fact, take it or leave it. This is what I'm all about. He stated his purpose. He said, these are my boundaries. Women have to know that if they push you too far, you'll walk and never look back. A lot of guys, you'll see it in a lot of the emails, just like the one that I did yesterday, where the guy doesn't wait. He leaves a message and he doesn't wait for the woman to get back, and then he calls her again. That's a guy who she can walk all over. That's a guy who's a doormat. That's a guy who won't stand up for himself. And if a man won't stand up for himself to the woman that he's with, she instinctively is going to be fearful about being around this guy, that he would never protect her. In other words, if she were ever in any real physical danger, he's going to haul ass and leave her to fend for herself. In other words, he's not a real fucking man, he's a bitch. And women want a guy who will stand up for himself. He says, anyways, after our chat, you suggested to go no contact. Yeah, I mean, at this point, 6 months you've been dating, there's no reason that you should be calling and texting and pursuing her at all. She already felt safe and comfortable enough with you, and women are just natural bonders. They tend to do 80% of the talking anyways. On a typical day, women say about 8,000 words. Guys tend to say about 2,000 words. So women naturally, instinctively are going to want to talk more. They're going to want to connect more. They're going to want to bond. They're going to want to reach out. They're going to want to talk about things. They're going to want to share their day. They work through their problems by talking about them. They don't need you to solve them. They like to talk about those things. And if you're her rock and her mountain, you're going to be the person that she calls to talk about anything and everything that's going on in her life. Remember, like I talked about in the video, how to communicate with women effectively. Get in the habit of saying, do you want me just to listen, or do you want my advice or opinion? And most of the time she'll go, no, I just want you to listen. Okay, baby, what else? Tell me more. He says, so anyways, after our chat, you suggested go no contact and 100% only from her, and see how she starts showing up and acting. Because what was going on is he was still doing a lot of the pursuing. It's unnecessary. The guy really just kind of has to get the ball rolling in the beginning. And then from that point forward, when the woman's thinking, because remember, it's a scientific fact that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. Women are like cats. They come and go. You spend a lot of time together, and you can see both of you kind of get a little used to each other. You get a little bored with one another. And then what happens? She went from calling you and texting you once or twice a day till you might not hear from her for a day or two, or even 3. That's the way it is. And you can't come and go, hey, I haven't heard from you. What's going on? Is everything okay? It's the worst thing you can do. He says things had started to change since I had that chat with her and addressed her cold, distant behavior in the ex situation. But I listened to you, and I also applied 100% no contact. He says, what a change it's been in the past few weeks. Things started to just feel different with her right away. You don't want to know why? Because you're acting like a man is supposed to act. This is natural. You state your purpose, and then you go about your life. He says, I left all contact up to her, and during the week I stayed busy with my own life. As any man should be, focused on his mission, his purpose. He doesn't have time to fuck around and chit-chat. If his queen wants to talk, and hey, baby, sure, I'll make time for you. When are you free? Awesome. Let's get together for dinner tomorrow night. We'll talk about that. Be busy. Focus on your own thing. When she misses you, it's like putting a cake in the oven, letting that sexual attraction build. He says, I'd always reply to her messages. In other words, he never ignored her. That's really important. When a woman reaches out, you always respond. Doesn't mean you have to respond right away. Maybe you're busy, you're doing something. But don't just ignore. I get emails all the time from guys that are like, oh, I've been ignoring her text for a week. It's like, you want her to reach out to you so you can set dates, and then now she's reaching out to you and you just ignore her? It's like, come on, man. He says, but I didn't initiate any contact, and by the end of the week, after you and I spoke, she was messaging me that she misses me, and the tone in all of her contact was totally different. Like she was worried she was going to lose me. Huh. Isn't that interesting? What a quinky-dink. It was torture at times not to reach out because you were fearful that you weren't going to hear from her and make contact, but I applied what you taught me and I stayed strong. And mate, it's paid off in dividends so far. So much so that because here's what happens. She's got 2 guys in her life. One guy's chasing, the other guy, she doesn't know what's going on. Remember, it's a scientific fact that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. All beautiful women have tons of neurotic guys like, hey, when can I see you? When can I take you out, baby? When can I take you to a movie? When can we go to lunch? When can we get together? She, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. And yet the guy that she hasn't heard from, that's the one she's chasing after. That's the one she's running after. And so since most guys don't understand this stuff, you're doing nothing about except going about your life. And the other dude who's chasing after, acting all needy and desperate, she knows she can have him. There is no ambiguity about how he feels about her. But you, on the other hand, I wonder what he's doing. He's different. I wonder if he still cares. I wonder if he misses me. And when she calls up and says, hey, I'm missing you. I was thinking about, baby, I was thinking about you too. I want to see you when you're free to get together. And he makes the next date. He says, so, and mate, it's paid off in dividends so far, so much so that the ex has blown himself out of the picture completely after he accepted his friend zoning, but my girl cut contact with him and started pursuing me more and more. He lost it and blew up her phone with weak, needy girl texts saying their friendship wasn't worth anything if they couldn't meet up, etc., etc. Then he started getting a bit abusive, etc., usual story. In other words, he didn't get what he wanted, and then he got angry. That totally fucks with her ability to feel safe and comfortable. You're acting like a man, he's acting like a creepy, weird guy that may become abusive. So she's got to run from him like the plague, right into your arms. He says now he is completely out of the picture and she's coming at me closer than she ever has and has made a total commitment to me rather than keeping the ex in the background as a friend. All I can say is patience pays. I remember years ago in the Turnpike in Florida, which is like a toll road for those of you that don't know, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, it used to be only 2 lanes. And the lanes were together and they used to have these signs along the way and would say, and there was like, 8 or 9 signs. It would say patience, and then the next sign would say pays. Only 10 minutes till passing zone, and the passing zone would have extra lanes so you could pass people. He says, all I can say is patience pays alongside strength and purpose, and though it was hard to stay focused and strong at times of feeling weak and wanting to get in touch, i.e. the illusion of action, like I talk about in my book, meet up, etc., by refocusing away from her, allowed strength to return to me, and I must have been emitting that signal clearly also. You're acting like a man who's busy taking care of his shit. But he always makes time for his queen, but at the end of the day, he's focusing on his mission and his purpose in life. He says, anyway, it's worked, and I feel a total shift in position, and I'm enjoying having my girl closer than ever. I just want to let you know that I listened, and I'm reaping the benefits. I enjoyed our phone session. Take care. All the best. Good job, dude. You listened. You applied what I taught. Therefore, you got the results. You're fucking awesome, dude. That's what alpha males do, bro. They just fucking handle shit in a charming, playful, loving, sweet way. It's not about being a dick. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.